What up, boys? I'm Example, and I'm here tonight by subscriber request to talk to you about my favorite Pokemon. What a fun topic! I mean, it caught my eye right away, since back in the day I used to be pretty invested in the Pokemon world, let's just say that. Even played competitively for a while there, although I'm sure to be complete trash by now. I can guarantee it. My top 10 favorite Pokemon of all time. Number 10, Mega Lopunny. So this one secured her spot on my list by, I love Lopunny. That's really why, if we're being honest. Even today, she's managed to hang on to her spot at like number 17 overall. So you could probably imagine how delighted I was to see her get a Mega Evolution, a remix, in Gen 6. I was even more delighted to see Game Freak not completely butcher it, like they have with so many other Megas, but that's none of my business. And coming in at number 9, Mega Mawile. Honestly, just look at her. I mean, could it have been anyone else? Well, Mega Mawile is a fantastic Pokemon design, married to a fantastic Pokemon, innovatively enough. She's an extremely competitively viable Pokemon. I mean, even now, well over a year since my last, even somewhat notable finish, at a tournament, the tiering does still matter a lot to me, so she really does earn her spot on this list. As a fairy and steel type with the right training and the right coverage moves, she could be a force to be reckoned with. She's got excellent resistances, taking 1/2 or 1/4 damage from 10 different types. But, of course, you know me, none of that would matter if I didn't like how she looked. And, let's see. Yep, thankfully, her looks are god tier. That brings us to Tsarina, I think, number 8. She's our first representative from Gen 7, by the way, interestingly enough. No doubt looks somewhat out of place here, but I assure you, just stick with me here. For one thing, although she doesn't see that much use in competitive play, even though she does have access to knockoff pressure, great ability in Queenly Majesty, and the spin, naturally her tier does reflect the lack of competitive use, so she's RU, or rarely used. Got an unremarkable base stat total, which doesn't really help either. Certainly a pretty far cry from all of the 700s, 600s, and 500s that make up most of the list, that's for sure. But look a little closer, and I think you'll find that Tsarina's actually right at home here on this list. After all, she is cute, and she is 100% likely to be female. I always use female Pokemon when I can. I always use cute Pokemon when I can. Makes sense, right? It's also probably worth mentioning that I love this design. I can't even tell you how much I just love it. Her pre-evolution even, Steenie, basically has to share this spot with her, in essence, because I like her just as much, and they're both right up my alley. Next up, number 7, another newcomer, Ultra Beast 01, Nihiligo, in all of her bioluminescent glory, a staple of VGC 17, who still shows up all the time today, for good reason, of course. She's a rock and poison type, base stat total, I believe, 580, maybe 570, absolutely terrifying when properly trained. Memes, Moe Jellyfish Girl, need I say more, fam? Let's keep it moving, though. Right on down to number 6. Pheromosa, Ultra Beast 2. Well, do I even have to explain myself at this point? She's highly competitive, Beast Boost is a great ability, Bug/Fighting type with a base stat total of 580, great attack, special attack, and speed stats, but really it is down to her design. Again. Sexy bug lady, memes, pornographic fan art for days. My guy, you know the drill. And oh yes, unsurprisingly, it's a very similar story at number 5, where we will find Gardevoir and Mega Gardevoir, both sharing a single spot on the list for convenience sake. To explain why, though, I think I'll have to tell you a bit of a short story. You see, back in Gen 3, Gardevoir was my favorite Pokemon ever. I used her considerably more than my starter, in fact, not even close, actually, and trained her so meticulously that I still cherish her today. Honestly, I am pretty sure that it's Game Freak's second best design ever, and if you don't buy that, I'm sure that there are a lot of people fapping to Gardevoir Hentai online right now who would at least agree with me. In competitive terms, she comes out with Trace before picking up Pixelate on Mega Evolution, both of which are fantastic tools, of course. Copying troublesome abilities from across the board and dishing out massive spread damage with, like, Hyper Voice. There is some good support in her move pool as well. That fierce special attack stat does wonders under a choice specs. You can really do any of the choice items, but really choice specs. And none of that even takes into account the fact that she's absolutely gorgeous. Would you look at that? Another newcomer at number 4, it's Tapu Lele, our crown princess of Sun and Moon. Undisputed Pokemon royalty. That is the end of that. I mean, both competitively and in my own heart. Thank God she exists. Like, seriously, I'm always starstruck just looking at her. The true highlight of Generation 7. There can be no doubt about that. In hindsight, isn't it kind of crazy how Game Freak was willing to actually design and implement Tapu Lele? A Pokemon that so completely and utterly overshadows the other 3 Alolan Guardian Spirits that putting Bulu and Lele side by side is almost a literal joke. I mean, damn. She's literally lapping the entire field on this one. But hey, on the other hand, it is always nice to see that despite some of the, inane, stale trash that Game Freak has tried to pass off as new Pokemon kind of subtly behind the scenes, all of the creative exhaustion, the pure creative exhaustion that's been unceremoniously dumped into the past few generations, it's just lovely to see that they have not yet lost their touch. They can still cook up a few absolutely inspired designs when they want to. Terrain clearing utility, massive psychic power boosts, complete immunity to priority for your whole team on the ground, crippling stab bonuses. I mean, to top it all off, there's just everything. Tapu Lele has everything. Paired with that insane set versatility, nothing can stand before her. Lesser Pokemon, fall to your knees. Third place, Mega Diancie. Did you expect anything else? Well, regular Diancie was already amazing enough. Of course, let's keep it real. By far my favorite Pokemon from X and Y, so let me tell you, when I saw her Mega Evolution for the first time, I was instantly in love. It's perfect, in my opinion, basically perfect, just strictly better. Way better, if you ask me, and my history with this one is actually pretty interesting. Before even her Mega was revealed, Diancie was on my top 10 list on the basis of, well, what else of that godlike design? But she was really strictly there as a Pokemon I love to have and not a Pokemon I love to use, Then along came Diancite and Mega Diancie along with it, and suddenly Diancie, which is in the NU tier, not used, never used, turns to Mega Diancie, which is in the OU, overused tier. So not a big shock. Big offenses and big speed, great stats and access to Stealth Rock alongside tons of coverage moves and the ability Magic Bounce, which insulates her from all status. And yeah, it's really not a big surprise that she makes this list and is excellent in competitive play. But having finished that, having finished with number 3, I think it's time. Oh yes, it is time. It is finally time. Number 2, Steela, the one and only. Yes, we finally get to talk about Best Girl. Almighty Steela, it's here, the true box legendary of Sun and Moon. Solgaleo and Lunala just tremble at the mere whispered mention of her name. It's a fact. Queen Steela rules the entire Pokemon world with an iron fist. Her word is law. Even Arceus is just glad to be in her good books because you see, Celesteela was really the one who actually created Arceus in the beginning. She's just so modest, typical, that she lets him take the credit. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Yes, it's obviously true that the more something looks like an anime girl, the more I like it. But hey, trust me here. My love for this Pokemon is real, guys. It's not just skin deep, okay? I'm not just trying to get into her pants. Even if she is drop dead gorgeous. What, you don't see it? I mean, she's indistinguishable from any other anime, honey. I mean, look, she's got hair, right? Right there, and straight bangs, which, scientifically speaking, are the cutest hairstyle in the world. And check out this waistline. She's so fit. And those hips, man, those thighs. Alright. All jokes aside, Steela is, without a doubt, my all-time favorite Pokemon to use. She's, far and away my favorite Pokemon to use, really, and also probably the Pokemon I've used the most in competitive play. She's certainly the Pokemon that I've had the most competitive success with. So, I'll never stop playing Steela, really. As long as I'm playing Pokemon, I'm playing Steela. I can't stop. I enjoy it too much. I've got too many priceless memories with her, of her bringing me all the way back from hopeless deficits and sweeping the most improbable matchups. We sure did navigate a lot of long-ass, complex back-and-forth mirrors, too, and there is a good reason why Steela mirrors were dreaded by VGC stream audiences everywhere. This girl is basically an indestructible, immovable goddess made of willpower. So I'm gonna level with you here, guys. It was brutally difficult, almost physically painful for me, trying to separate Steela from my number one spot. She's just carried me so far so many times, and I love her. I always will, but in the end, even though she is the Pokemon I use the most, and the Pokemon that I enjoy using the most, my all-time favorite Pokemon has to be, number 1, Meloetta. In both of her forms, Aria and Pirouette, I think it's fair to say that Meloetta will never not be my favorite Pokemon. I'm pretty sure it's scientifically impossible. And for the most part, it has nothing to do with using her in battle, carrying her in competitive play, or getting through a ton of events with her. No, not at all. My affection for Meloetta is totally unlike my love for Steela. In fact, where Steela is my favorite Pokemon to use, Meloetta is my favorite Pokemon to have. She's my favorite Pokemon to carry with me. My favorite Pokemon to keep on my team, and I always have kept her there. She'd kind of be like my Pikachu if this was the Pokemon anime and I was Ash. Aside from Celesteela, of course, I've never even seen any other Pokemon in any of the generations before her or since that even begins to come close to maybe someday having the potential to, in some way, partially replicate how much I love Meloetta. It's just not even possible. And what can I say? I think her visual design is simply the best work Game Freak has ever done. Her sprites, her 3D model, shinies, all of it. In my head, the word Pokemon itself is basically just shorthand for her name. So, that's my top 10, my favorite Pokemon of all time across all 7 generations to date. I gotta say, I did have a lot of fun making this video, and it kind of made me miss playing Pokemon, playing Pokemon and taking it seriously. You know what else this video reminded me of that was pretty fun and pretty great though? I reminded myself of something a good friend once told me when we were discussing our favorite Pokemon. It was just a couple years ago. He said that if you look up a certain Pokemon on the internet and you find a bunch of pictures where that Pokemon is drawn as a sexy anime girl and a human, then that Pokemon is guaranteed to be on my top 10 list. And he was pretty much right, huh? But that's just me. What do you guys think? Am I crazy for believing that the way a Pokemon looks should be the most important thing? Am I just too crazy about design, good design? How different is your list? And who's at the top? I mean, what are your favorite Pokemon, if you got them? Let me know in the comments, guys. I would love to hear. And thank you so much for watching. As always, guys, I really appreciate it. Hope to catch you next week.
I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was. To catch them is my real test. To train them is my cause. I will travel across the land.